Hey everyone, my name is Jon. I'm here with Matt and we're co-founders of Userback. Today, we're diving into something that every SaaS founder struggles with at some point in their journey, and that is user onboarding. Matt here, he handles our product and marketing, and I focus on building customer relationships. So we've seen onboarding from both sides, the promises that we make on the front end and the reality that users face when they actually get into your product. Today, we'll be sharing some real stories from our journey, including mistakes that cost us users and the lessons that actually moved the dial on our activation numbers. It's not going to be theory or best practices that you can find in any blog post or on LinkedIn. These are some of the decisions that we made here at Userback that worked, what didn't, and what we're doing right now. Matt, thanks for joining me. I know this is something that we talk about quite a bit here at Userback, and I'm excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, John. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, onboarding is something that I'm passionate about. I know you are as well. You're spot on as a founder, right, of an early stage startup. Onboarding, it's so important. The job's never done. You're always thinking about it. You're always looking for ways to refine it and improve it because it's just core of your success. You can't grow unless you're firstly attracting new customers, then onboarding, and having them sort of upgrade and pay you money.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and you see it time and time again on in blog posts and on in LinkedIn, people posting content, especially for founders that have secured funding. The advice that they get more often than not is growth at all costs.
Mm.
In terms of our journey here at Userback, when did we decide that that was maybe not the right call for us?
Yeah, yeah. Look, growth at all costs is an interesting mantra, isn't it? And I personally don't really subscribe to that
Mm.
line of thinking. It's sometimes it's not really about growing. For me, growing is what happens when you're adding value to your customers. So I sort of flip that around a little bit. So how do we add value to our customers, and the growth will come from that.
Mm.
Is the way I think about it. I know for us with our journey, when we were just starting out and we were attracting a handful of new trial customers to our application, and we weren't really worried so much about growing at that point in time so much as, well, how do we just improve on what's already happening organically. Yeah. And I guess being a lean startup, at the time, completely bootstrapped, really small team, we had to be really smart about how we do that. And the question that we were really asking ourselves is, where do we need to focus our efforts? And when we look at the way that we sort of approach that, this is going back quite a few years now, we sort of visualize that as our sales funnel. And we looked at how we perform against the industry benchmarks. So, and I would encourage any sort of startup to probably start there, is
Mm.
look at the benchmarks and how you stack up against that. Because, if you can identify that, this particular part of your sales funnel is working well, then cool. But if this other one's not working well, it's kind of obvious that's where you need to focus. Then I'm talking about benchmarks here, but let me actually just share my screen and I'll just show some data for the benchmarks that we actually looked at with Userback. So we're a B2B SaaS company, obviously. Um, and the benchmarks that we set across our sales funnel were these here, web traffic, trial sign up rate, trial activation, and trial upgrade. So we kept that really simple. But at that point in time, we did the research, B2B SaaS, found some reputable sources that sort of share this sort of data. And we looked at where we were, in comparison to these benchmarks. And we were attracting, good amounts of website traffic at the time, all organic, it's worth saying. And we were converting, I think, about 3.5% of web traffic to trial. So we knew that was kind of going okay. But our activation rate was significantly lower
Mm.
than the industry benchmark. And then that had the flow-on effect of meaning our trial upgrade rate was also lower as well, because activation is directly related to upgrade. From memory, I think our trial activation rate was kind of closer to 20%. And it's, so when it came to our onboarding and where should we focus our efforts, it was clear that we were attracting trials at a good rate, but we just weren't providing a good experience for them in the application as a trial user to help them get started. And that's what we did. That's why we focused our efforts.
So when you say trial activation rate, um,
Mm.
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, yeah. So, look, good question. Activation can mean many different things for any application, and indeed it does. But for, in essence, your activation rate or your activation is simply the moment when a new user has done something meaningful in the app. You often see it referred to as the aha moment. So
Mm.
it's the point in time when a user has done something that goes, "Oh wow, I get it now. This app's cool. I'm now set up for success. Makes sense that I keep using it." For us at Userback, we've actually had many uh, variations of the activation rate because we needed to try different things to understand what was most meaningful. For us right now, an activated trial account is someone who's installed their feedback widget and has used it to capture feedback.
Yep.
That's the moment when a trial user comes in the Userback, and that's their aha moment. They understand what the app's for. It's a positive experience for them, and they continue to use it.
Yeah, and you see this in a number of other B2B SaaS applications that are also, I guess, widget tools,
Mm.
where some of them will put you into the application. They'll get you to do some stuff and say, yeah, go and install the code. It's over here, but feel free to play around, because that's also probably their activation metric as well. And other tools will, as you go through their onboarding flow, you can't progress until you've done that thing, which is install the script code.
Yeah,
on-
yeah,
onto the site.
that's right. Look, and every application is different, and you
Mm.
just need to understand what works well for you. You need to have solid product analytics to help understand what users are doing. Some of the other examples, I guess, of activation, what that means for different apps, like if you're a support ticketing system, your activation is probably when you've captured your first ticket, or it could be when you've resolved your first ticket. It might actually be your fifth ticket. You just got to experiment with what works best for you, and really it comes down to I kind of look at it as a data or analytics kind of thing. And you need to look at your different variables and sort of see where the strongest correlation is with someone doing something in your app and then going on to upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah, so taking a bunch of users that have maybe upgraded over the last 3 to 6 months, looking at all the things they did while they were in trial, and then narrowing that down to these are the common activities that the user had performed before they went on to start paying for your product.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And once you can identify what that activation moment looks like, it makes your onboarding efforts so much, I guess, focused, because
Mm.
then your job is quite simply is how do I help new trial users experience that activation moment as soon as possible with as least effort?
Yep. And there's lots of things that you can do with that in-app prompting, pushing people through a dedicated workflow, through onboarding,
Yep,
tours or guided tours, a checklist.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In terms of once we kind of fixed that, and we call it the leaky bucket back in the early days,
Mm.
that allowed us to then focus on pushing traffic back into the funnel once we'd fixed that leaky bucket.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that leaky bucket analogy was exactly, I remember that's exactly how we were talking about it, because you put so much effort into trying to attract new users to your website. And then you put all the effort into optimizing your website for the trial sign up. Then they come into the app and they don't do anything. And
Yeah.
you kind of go, well, you know, they're just falling out the bottom of the bucket. So yeah, and now for us, that strategy of like filling the gaps in the bucket, preventing the leaks, it worked really well. And it gave us, like, once we had achieved that, it gave us that confidence from a marketing perspective. So, oh, okay, well, now we can sort of experiment with new marketing initiatives, some paid activity, knowing that we've got a consistent model here that's capable of converting trial users at scale.
Yeah.
So yes, let's ramp it up.
Yeah. In terms of those benchmarks that you were kind of talking about earlier, where can we actually go to find those benchmarks in B2B SaaS?
Yeah, look, so I guess nowadays my easiest answer for you is ChatGPT. But look, the resource that I, and I guess you and I both used over time, Kyle Poyer, from OpenView Partners, he's published a lot of like really good data
Yep.
over the
Is
years.
this blog Growth Unhinged?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. 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 You can sign up to his newsletter, and he provides a lot of helpful industry knowledge. So yeah, so Kyle Poyer, he's been a big go-to resource for us over the years.
Yep. Yep.
I guess the other thing with benchmarks is worth saying, like when you're growing, you don't know how you perform, so that's why you need to turn to benchmarks. But once you do start growing, you've got your own data. You need to set your own benchmarks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
that
guess
needs to be
it's a
your
good
path
starting
forward.
point, a guiding, something to guide against.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess when we figured it out, the challenge that we had, which was the leaky bucket, our activation rate was, well, the product wasn't working for us in terms of activating trials. And then we worked that out, and we did solve that challenge, and we
Yeah.
started, converting more trials to customer. Post that, tell us about a time when things just didn't work or stopped
Yeah.
working
So
for us.
yeah, so we fixed the leaky bucket. We had a really good onboarding system going, and then we broke everything. I would be a little bit facetious there, but you're right. We did try different things. Some of them were more successful than others. But the thing that comes to mind there is when we started experimenting more with our product positioning and messaging and how we started talking about Userback in the broader market. And when we did that, we also implemented that piece of work along with a new website as well. So we made I guess we took on a big undertaking of changing many, many things at the same time.
Mm.
The result of that is, yeah, we created a disconnect. We didn't mean to, but we created a disconnect between our products, positioning, messaging, and what the product can actually do. I'll just share my screen again and I'll show you because I've got the website. So what we did, this is I think this is version, but we've had probably 5 variations of our website. This is like V2. um, But when we went from version 1 to version 2 and seeing what we're looking at today, we took a big swing. We tried to change the brand promise, I guess, of what Userback actually does.
Mm.
And we were a bit more vague as well in hindsight. Yeah, as a visual feedback tool and bug reporting tool, that's how we used to talk about our, our, prop, our application in the early days. Then we kind of changed it into more about product development in more sort of broad terms to what we're seeing here on the site now. And this was a mistake, which, we tried something different, experiment, didn't work. But to bring this back into onboarding, what we learned from that is how important or essential it is really to make sure that the brand promise that you're talking about on your website matches and is really closely aligned with what your product can actually deliver. Because when you're having people come to you on the website looking for ABC, they sign up for a trial. And if they can't clearly see ABC in your application, then they abandon.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that was the key learning from that. And, there were many great things about this website and this project, but from an onboarding perspective, we saw that we created a problem for ourselves. And I don't have it on the screen, but what we did after this website, we kind of iterated back, I guess, a little bit, and we sort of looked, or I guess, refined our messaging back down towards the core things that the product does: visual user feedback, bug reporting, and those sort of use cases. So that was a really key learning from that initiative.
Yeah, I remember talking to customer or potential customers leads at the time that were looking for something very different to what we were actually offering in product based on the messaging on the website.
Yeah. I mean, it's like website or homepage 101. People need to know who you are. Have I come to the right place?
Yeah.
What do you do? And what do I do next?
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's talk about where we landed then and where we're at now.
mm.
If you can jump to our current site.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yep.
And how we've iterated towards this, because I think this is maybe the third the third or fourth iteration from that dark site, and where we've kind of
Yeah, I've
landed.
lost count. Okay. Yeah, so this is our current website. We've had this live for about 12 months now, I think.
Mm,
So what we learned over our journey is you're making it really clear that we're a user feedback tool. And the value proposition is that we help you collect more feedback and then act on it faster.
yep.
Yeah. The other thing that we've learned through trial and error is, uh, and this may not work for everyone, but for us, it certainly works. It's making sure you're putting your product front and center. So we have lots of product screenshots of all across the different pages of the site. I won't show them, but the product is front and center, and we you know, collect, understand, and act. We keep it really simple, and this website's performing really well, like above the industry benchmarks that we're
Mm,
looking at before for website to trial sign up. Um, but the key learning here from an onboarding perspective is we keep that story going once you sign up for a trial account of Userback. So it's really clear that we help you collect feedback and then act on it faster. And when you sign up, we just continue that type of story. And I've actually got it here. If I could just take a moment to show you. But this is the onboarding flow that we have for new trial signups. We keep it really simple. I'll just put some details in here.
yeah. While you're doing that, everything that we do, or all of the messaging that we have, is centered around product teams collect, understand, act. The way I talk to customers about it, our onboarding emails are centered around that. This
Mm,
product onboarding here um, sort of references it as well.
yeah,
So we've banded everything together to, I guess, solidify that message and the value proposition that we have.
yeah, yeah. The other thing that we've learned from an onboarding perspective in the app is to keep forward momentum. So keep things
Yep.
really simple, but forward momentum. So no dead ends.
Yep.
Yeah. So when a new user signs up, here they are, and then bang, they start seeing the widget. So they start understanding that they're going to be using our widget, to capture feedback. So they manage feedback, and they can do that in Userback, or they can choose an integration. Most people use Jira and Slack, and then they can customize the workflow for how they're going to do that. So
Yep.
we're actually telling a story here. So like I said, it's forward momentum with simple steps, but it's reinforcing that brand promise that we're going to help you collect more feedback and act on it faster. And just in a few clicks, here you are into the app. And as we were sort of saying before, John, we also do little checklists, like getting started checklist, and other feature tours as well in the app.
Yeah, I guess while you're on this screen, it's not
Mm,
directly related to onboarding, but I guess part of our broader go-to-market and pricing strategy. We do offer a free trial, but it's a reverse trial. And since
mm.
implementing that, we've seen some great success from that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's worth talking about for a couple of minutes. So you're right. For about 3 months now, we've been trialing this. It's called a reverse trial concept. So people can sign up for a free account with Userback. So when you first create your trial account from the website, it's like you're creating a free account,
Mm,
and then you come into the app, and we position it as a gift. So without even doing anything, hopefully you feel excited, like, wow, Userback's giving me free access to something I didn't necessarily ask for. Um, and they actually get 14 days free access to our top plan. And we deliberately give them access to the top plan so that they can experience the full value of the product and evaluate that. Then after the 14 days, they can either choose to upgrade to the paid plan, or we automatically downgrade them to free. And that's been working really well. The reverse trial, it's probably fair to say that with implementing the reverse trial, it's when we've had our strongest activation rate. And I think that activation rate, it's around 45% for us in this trial. In the reverse trial concept. So that's been going really well. What we're looking at here is just one of the feature tools that we have. And I've been speaking a lot in this chat with you about the activation rate. So what we do is it's all about installing your widget. Like I said, that's how we define activation. So it's all about installing your widget. So in the background here, I would have been sent a welcome email.
Yep.
That's a very clear next step. Install the widget. And if you don't install that widget within 48 hours, you'll get another email. Not just, it serves as a reminder, but then it gives you other resources like the help article, a little tutorial video, other resources to help you sort of understand the importance of installing your widget.
Yeah. And I know like other resources out there, I guess best practices of onboarding, and there's checklists available for all the things that you can look at and implement in your SaaS application. They talk about giving a quick win. So we have this example feedback as well that you can go into, and there's something else in that feedback to mention as well. So we give a quick win here, which is that you can come into the example feedback, you can add a comment to this feedback. The feedback's from me, so I get the notification that a comment's been added, and I can reply back to that and say, hey, reach out if you need a hand with anything. But aside from that, one of the other things that the experts, including Kyle Poyer, Ramley John from Delight Path, they talk about users will come into your application, and it's about making sure that they come back to it, as opposed to just abandoning and not actually logging back in. We spent some time thinking about, well, yeah, how do we get people to come back into the product if they haven't actually activated, they haven't installed the code, because not everyone can install the code. So what we did here is when we rolled out a feature for due dates, which makes sense for bug tracking and task tracking, the example feedback actually has a due date on it. So users, after they sign up and they have this example feedback in their trial, they'll receive a notification saying, hey, your feedback's overdue.
Yeah, it's you're right. And it's interesting because when we implemented that feature, it was just kind of like a happy accident
Yeah.
that it had the impact that it did for onboarding. Like out of all of the onboarding emails that we sent, and there's about 7 or 8 of them, it's that due date email that you get on day 3. I think it's when it gets sent.
Yep.
That's got the highest login rate. So more people log into their app after getting that email than any of the others, and that's as a transactional email. So
yeah,
but you're right. It's you can spend hours and hours thinking of different ways to draw people back into your application, but sometimes it's just the really simple things, that work well.
Yeah, that's great. I guess over time, because we've spoken about a bunch of things here, and I guess looking at activation rate and the things in your product that lead to activation, we spoke about measuring users and the different things that all the users have done that contribute to them upgrading. That's related to tech stack. How has our tech stack with respect to product onboarding evolved over time?
Yeah,
What are we
good
using now?
question. I'll just so I've got on my screen here the main players of our current tech stack. So back in as we were just starting out, probably the most prominent tool in our tech stack was Userback itself, which is one of the benefits, right, of having a user feedback application. And we were also using that to assist the support function as well at the time. But look, that's evolved. It's starting with support, but we use Intercom for our support, which is great. We also use Intercom to power the email automation for our onboarding series.
Yep, I think we use it for the feature tour, or the guided.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly right. Yep. Because you can do in-app messaging with Intercom. I like it for the email series stuff. You can use dynamic content The targeting is pretty good for the automation stuff. Sorry, so it does the job there. Look, Storylane, which we use for our interactive demos, that's an excellent tool. So those interactive demos play a really important part for our pre-sales and onboarding.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. We've chosen to build. I think we've got about 9 different feature tours. So we have a feature tool that's like a really quick introduction to Userback, and that's great. But we've also sort of gone deep dive, say how to collect more feedback with Userback, how to manage feedback with Userback, because remember that's our value proposition: collect, understand, act. So we built tours for that, as well as specific features. Like here's how to use surveys with Userback. Here's how to use a feature portal with Userback. So yeah, Storylane's been really great for that. I'd be lost without Mixpanel for our product analytics. I kind of lose a lot of time looking at Mixpanel, only because I love it. There's just, but you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole looking at the product data.
Been fans of Mixpanel for over 10 years, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, and speaking of fans, I'm a fanboy at the moment of User Maven for our website analytics. We made the switch from Google Analytics about 12 months ago. Really got sick of GA4. Just became far too confusing. But User Maven is great for website analytics. I've mentioned that here as part of our onboarding tech stack because it's really important for us, and I guess any growing SaaS company, to understand the different the sources of where your trials are coming from. We track it. We've set up conversion goals for trials that have signed up after looking at certain feature pages on our website. That sort of gives us an understanding of like, oh, okay, this group of customers are really, appear to be really interested in surveys. So, maybe we should send them more content around how to do surveys with Userback. Yeah. And I've put Userback here as well. Like it's always been, like I said, core to our product. But as Userback has grown, it's, the role that it plays with our onboarding has also grown. With Userback, we have the feature that captures all of the session replays. So we actually watch, not all of them, but we watch a lot of the session replays for our trial users to understand, what features they're looking, what's their flow look like. And particularly when we make changes to things in our onboarding. So when we make changes to that onboarding flow that I briefly showed before, you, me, and even Lee, we all spend time looking at the session replays to make sure there's no drop off. Look at, try and find out if there's certain screens that users seem to be sitting on for longer than they should. Just those sort of things.
I think one of the latest ones that we changes that we made was, and most tools do this. They request you to invite users into your account. Went through that onboarding, those onboarding screens. Usually, the last screen is to invite your team to collaborate, and here's the value of inviting your team members. But not everyone's ready to do that at the very first point of sign up. And we watched the session replays of trials signing up and going through that, and we just made a call that people weren't inviting their team at that point in time, so just drop it off.
Exactly. Yep. That's right.
Get them into the app faster, experience the value, get a quick win.
Yep.
Okay, so before we wrap up, in terms of here at Userback, who's inspired us with helpful resources when it comes to onboarding and product-led growth?
Yep. So we mentioned Kyle Poyer before with Growth Unhinged. So I guess we're both kind of fanboys of that. But Wes Bush, who's commonly known as the PLG guy, you can follow him on LinkedIn. He's got some great resources, particularly with us with our journey, is we've really tried to lean hard into the PLG motion. Is sort of has some really helpful tips and tricks for that. And the last person we've sort of leaned on a lot for resources, just randomly Jon, Delight Path. His background was with app queues and app Qs have sort of built their business around onboarding tech.
Yep.
So they're probably the three. And they, I sort of made the joke before about AI tools, and that's certainly the case. But these three are still the guys that we look at from time to time and follow.
Yeah, I think through following Kyle, Wes, and Ramley, what I notice is that because they're so active in the space and on LinkedIn, that you often find them commenting or even just liking posts from other businesses and getting ideas from those comments and posts that you wouldn't otherwise see. Um, and that's right through from uh, website ideas through to pricing and packaging and also onboarding. So you get a full spectrum there of based on just their extended network.
You're right. And you make it actually a really good point there, mate. We're talking about onboarding, but that's just one piece of the broader puzzle. So you mentioned pricing just then. So, pricing, product, positioning, all the 5 Ps, onboarding, all of it. It's all needs to be wrapped up together in a nice package. And like I said at the start of this call, the work never stops. You're always working on it and refining it. So
Yep. Well, that's great. I think that's all we've got time for now. So if anyone watching this, you're building a SaaS and you're wrestling with the challenges that we've had with onboarding, then yeah, you're not alone. Most founders do struggle with onboarding at some point. But the main takeaway from this, if there is one, is that don't assume that more traffic fixes bad onboarding. And sometimes you need to, as we say here, stop the leaky bucket before you turn on or turn up the faucet. So thanks for listening. If you want to follow along with what we're doing here at Userback or see these experiments that we're running in action, you can find us online. We'll be back with another episode soon. It's likely that we'll probably talk about some pricing, positioning things. So Matt, thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yep, thank you.